I think a lot of creatives, specifically artists, they get in the creative field obviously because they love it, but eventually when they realize they can also make a lot of money out of it, they can long term they can retire their mom, or they could fucking buy properties all over the world, or they can fucking be, what do you call those, fucking just crazy ass people, bro. What would you say long term for you is like the end goal with the with all this shit? Because really, like, it's life.
I would say my end goal, I got a few in mind. The first thing that comes to mind is retire my family for sure.
Yeah.
Second thing that comes to mind is having a place of my own, like one that I can call home.
Yeah.
And the third goal of mine is to die with no money.
Wow. Would you give it all away?
Not to like a specific thing, but I would find the things that I feel are purposeful, you know?
To use the money for, essentially.
Yeah. Like give it to someone, help someone through something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really just help people, bro. Like help people as much as I can. Help people who I feel like deserve it. Help the people who are struggling. You know? That sort of deal.
What do you think of the weight that a lot of us carry when it comes to like wanting to do that for our families, though? I think it carries a shit ton of weight, and almost like if you don't do something great, it carries a lot of guilt. Like, damn, I didn't do something great for my family, or maybe even for myself. What do you think about that weight that we have to sort of? It's almost like given to us. Like, here, you have to. Not necessarily like you don't have to get us out of this, but you know, it's almost expected of us as males.
You know, I feel like as a man, like you're always gonna want to strive to do better. Because you're always gonna want to strive to lead people and to do things to help people, maybe. I do notice that a lot of men take advantage of that power, you know. A lot of men will belittle people or treat people indifferently because they feel
Superior.
Yeah, superior. It really is a superiority complex. I've heard that term a lot.
Yeah,
lately.
I have to. Yes.
And like, I think at the end of the day, like, you got to really put your pride aside and say that, you know, things are for you or they're not, you know, like,
Yeah.
and you have to be comfortable with being alone, you know, in regards to like the whole family thing. Like, you really do have to be comfortable with being by yourself and understanding that you can't help nobody until your cup is full. Your cup has to be overflowing for you to be able to help somebody.
That's so extremely fucking relatable, bro. You can't help somebody if you can't help yourself.
Bro. Can't
So
love
true.
nobody if you can't love yourself. How can you reassure somebody if you can't reassure yourself?
And you think that's really like the major stepping stone when it comes to that, essentially. It's like really.
Yeah, of course. I think it's a huge stepping stone because, you know, people are always going to think what they want to think about you.
Yes, they will.
Regardless of what you say. Even if you don't say anything, people are going to think something about you.
Preconceived notions all the time.
You got to be comfortable as a man saying no, you know?
Yeah.
You got to be comfortable. This environment is not corny.
Yeah.
because you're supposed to be, you know, the leader.
And then that's the moment when you isolate yourself, when you really realize. It's lonely though, bro. Like I've had, it's really relatable because I had that moment about a year and a half ago where I really disconnected from a lot of people.
Right.
And yes, it's been a rewarding journey, but it's lonely, bro. Like there's a lot of self-reflecting that happens in the process. And so if you don't have a support system, shit could get real dark. Even if like you're supposed to do it for character development or anything like that, I think the support system is what really holds it all together, which is again that family, being able to take care of them, because they're gonna take care of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say like, you know, things are all sunshine and
Word,
rainbows,
yeah, no,
bro, 'cause
of course, never that.
it'd be
Never that.
hard, bro. It'd be hard growing up, and a lot of times like feeling alone, you know. You don't got no one to confide in.
No matter how many people you have around you, too, it's so odd.
Right. And I think, you know, I think that's something a lot of people our age deal with, and
Yeah,
I really do think it's something that, as time goes on, you become more comfortable in that fact, and also just comfortable with yourself in general. Like, I think, like, a lot of times, like, in those moments when we be feeling alone is because we be feeling uncomfortable with ourselves, being alone with ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
if you are able to be comfortable being alone by yourself, then truthfully, the world is your oyster.
right.
Because you could go into whatever.
So true. But we don't understand that, though. We don't. It just takes so many ups and downs to get to that point that even when you aren't comfortable with yourself, there's still a lot of self-doubt, like, of what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Even if like you have this perception of like how we were talking about earlier, like, oh, everything is written, or you know, you gotta live in the present. There's still so much self-doubt that happens in the process, even like no matter how much you know yourself.
Of course, bro. You're like, am I supposed to be here?
Yes,
Like,
bro, because it feels sometimes when like it feels good is when like you're freaking out the most because it feels unsafe. It doesn't feel familiar.
Yeah.
You might be so used to like the chaos all the time. And then when you find that peace, you're like, man, like some shit don't feel right. But really that's where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, we be used to being on the run. You know what I'm saying? Like, being used to that survival mode, bruh. Like, you do still want to retain some of that, but if that is all you know what I'm saying?
You could become very dangerous.
Yeah, how are you ever gonna grow?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People do the same things over and over and over again and expect a different result.
What are your thoughts on that? I've run into these types of people. I mean, we're all people actually. What do you think about how we tend to do that? Like, do you think there's a point in life where we decide like not to just do like just to find solutions all the time, or do you think that some of us are just bound to like go over those lessons over and over and over? Like that's just like our journey.
Well, you know, when I think about that, I think about addiction, right?
Yes.
It's not necessarily like that person doesn't want to change, right?
Yeah.
You know, but I think more so like they keep telling themselves they need it. They need it. They need it. And I think that person does have to keep going through that lesson until finally one day they realize this is not for me.
But I've met 60, 70-year-olds where I'm like, man, how are you still in this situation? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, bro. And truthfully speaking, some of those people will never figure it out. And they will die being that same way, bro.
That's just their journey,
That's their journey.
realistically. Yeah.
That's their
I
journey.
I run into a lot of people where I can only feel empathy for them, because again, it's like, I mean, I've experienced that shit myself, where you want to quit some shit and you just can't, bro. I want to build on the addiction part. Have you been subject to addiction at a certain point in your life?
Not me, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I think I definitely had dabbled in things that could have become addicting. But I speak about addiction a lot because my mom is an alcoholic. And she's been that way since before I was born, since she was like 14. You know, she was drinking with her mom when her mom was an alcoholic, and her mom's mom was an alcoholic. And you know, my mom has been battling that thing her whole life, and you know, God willing, she will beat it. But
Amen.
there's a certain point where, you know, she has gotten to a point where she's been sober, but she falls right back into that same pattern. And I find it very interesting, you know, like thinking about her in that way, especially like knowing that I love her so much, you know, regardless of like who she is.
Yeah, it's your mom.
It's my mom. And I appreciate who she is as a person. But I know one day she will figure it out, you know?
Yeah. Amen.
You either figure it out or you don't.
Or you don't, yeah. It's true. It's definitely true. I mean, I've met people that have definitely figured it out at any time of their life. It's weird, again, like journeys are so different for everybody, and we tend to try to like compare it to ours, like our timeline or somebody else's timeline, when really like purposes are so complex. And like, who knows, like somebody like steps out of like a certain addiction at a certain age, and then they become a mogul within that field of like recovery. It's like that story was meant to happen for a certain reason.
I agree. Yeah, that's it.
How would you say, what age do you think your relationship with your mom affected you the most? Like, damn, like, would you say it was younger, or like teenage years where like there's so much other shit going on as well?
It was definitely them teenage years, bro.
I relate to that. Yeah.
I got to the point where people would tell me that they loved me, and I would just look at them. And I would just stare at them, honestly, because I didn't know what to say back, because I didn't know what that word meant.
Yeah.
And I'd become so dull and lifeless that, because everywhere I looked around me, I saw someone with the family, not understanding that not every family is perfect, you know?
Right. We're so naive.
And
We really are.
I'm over here, like you said, like comparing my existence to other people, you know, just being a little boy and not really like, I ain't never communicate that to nobody, that I was feeling that way. So I never, not asking that was also me isolating myself in a way, right? But
Yeah.
I think that age right there is when we receive so much influence from everything around us. Not
Everything,
just
bro.
our family, but we're getting these boosts in hormones, and we're turning from boys into men. Now we're also left with all this pain and confusion and doubts and worries and our schools don't really teach us about that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
We're just kind of left to our own vices.